What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Seeking Sister Wife Season 4, Episode 5. Let's start off with the Davis family, which is Nick, April, and Jennifer, and potentially they're dating Danielle to see if she's going to be a good fit for their household. So all three women, Jennifer, April, and Danielle, go out for coffee, and they want to the two wives who are already established, which are April and Jennifer, they want to see they're basically are still testing out Danielle to see how they feel about her, to see if she's going to be a good fit for them. So she is still in that pending process, I guess you could say. So they first ask her, how did her date with Nick go? And Danielle just simply says that, oh, it went good. And she really didn't expound any further than that. So they tell her that they want her to be more open, they want her to be more communicative. And they ask her if she's open to having children because they want to expand their family. And Danielle says yes, she is open to having children. And all four of them agree that they're all going to share one bed with Nick. Now, I need to know what size bed this is because this sounds like it's beyond a California king. And I think a California king is the biggest bed that you can get. Retail. Anything bigger than that, I'm thinking that you have to get it specially made or you have to push mattresses together. I need to see how big this bed is and what kind of a bed is this. It's going to fit four full grown adults comfortably, okay? Comfortably. Not packed like sardines, but comfortably. And anytime that they need one on one time with Nick, that's still going to be done privately, but for the most part, all four of them are going to share one bed. And April, to me, seems to be a little bit unsure of Danielle because of the fact that Danielle is so young. I think she's only 21. And so April is the one that seems to have the most doubts. But Jennifer really doesn't express a lot of her thoughts on Danielle. So I don't know exactly where Jennifer stands. This whole dynamic of Nick, April, and Jennifer seem like Nick is like the CEO, April is like the manager, and then that's it. And then there's Jennifer, and then there's Danielle potentially. But it seems like it's April that's the one that is really doing a lot of the communication, possibly even she's going to be the one to be making like the final decision with Nick, and Jennifer is just along for the ride. So they all decide to go on a staycation because the house that they currently live in is pretty small, so they want to take a little staycation in a bigger home and see how they're all going to vibe together. So they get to their on their way to the destination, they pick up Danielle, and on the way to their, I guess, Airbnb, Danielle is just like a little chatterbox. She's just talking and talking and talking and talking in the car. And Danielle even says that when she gets nervous, she has a tendency to talk too much. So she's just talking and talking and talking. And one of the things that we learn about Danielle is that her siblings don't live close by. Her siblings all live, I guess, in various states. And so she says that that's another reason why she likes the whole plural family dynamic is because it's like her home here. This is a place for her to feel it's a way for her to feel like she's part of a family, because I guess her relatives are so far away and spread out. So she likes that aspect of it, that this is going to be like her family here. She does live alone, so yeah, she lives alone, so I don't know how she's going to be able to. I mean, I feel like Danielle really wants to do this, but the question is, does she want to do this long term? That's what they're not sure of. But then there's no guarantee that any of them will stay. Anything can happen that can make April or Jennifer or Nick want to jump ship. Now, understand that, the concept of marriage is you're married until the day you die and until death do us part. I totally understand that, but that's not realistic for the majority of marriages in the United States. And so the whole thing about how April is like, well, I'm not really sure if she's a good fit because, I don't know how committed she is to this whole process or how committed she is to this type of lifestyle. You'll never know. There's nothing that can ever guarantee anyone that Danielle is going to stay forever and ever. If you like her and she likes y'all and everyone's liking each other and getting along, then go ahead and let her in. And then whatever happens tomorrow, let's worry about it tomorrow. But there is no guarantee that anyone is going to stay forever. So when they get to the Airbnb, the question comes up, the sleeping arrangement comes up because whenever they travel, a lot of the accommodations are like the bedrooms will have just like a standard size bed, not like a big king size or a California king or a supersized king or nothing like that. It's just all standard. So they have to take turns on sharing the bed with Nick. So the first night they've decided that it's going to be Nick and Jennifer, which I thought it would have been Nick and Danielle. But April tells us, April, the manager, she tells us that they want Danielle to know what it's like when Nick is spending the night with another sister wife. They want her to, I guess, if there's going to be any feelings of jealousy, they want her to learn how to process those feelings. So she's not going to be the first one to spend the night with Nick. It's going to be Jennifer, and then Danielle for the second night. And if they're going to be there a third, I guess it's going to be April. April said, she's not really too worried about spending the night with Nick in this Airbnb because out of all the females, she's the one that has spent the most nights with Nick because she's the original wife. So she's not too concerned about sharing another night with Nick. She could care less about that. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Like I said, the way I see it, even Nick says in his confessional, he feels like that he's possibly falling in love with Danielle. So, but he says, as soon as he said that, though, he also said that I just love love. I love relationships. I love everything about being in love. So I don't know if he meant it like he was really falling in love with Danielle or he was just falling in love with the idea of falling in love with Danielle. But Nick is good with Danielle. He's okay with it. Jennifer, she's just along for the ride. I don't think it matters to Danielle one way or the other. And then April is the one that seems to have the most reservation. I feel like, she does like Danielle. She doesn't have anything against her personally, but she's just not sure if she's a good fit for the family because of her age and her willingness to commit, for a lifetime. So that's the Davis family. Let's move on to the Foley family, Brenda and Steve. So Brenda and Steve take a visit to Dallas, where Steve's children reside with their mother. He has two children with his ex-wife. He has Preston, his son, who is 18 years old, and he has Jaden, his daughter, who is 16 years old. Now, Jaden is the one that gives Steve the most headaches. Jaden, she looks very like she's 16 years old, so I guess she's, testing out her rebellious side. She's very outspoken and she's a typical teenager. She's like, if she's not in a good mood, no one's in a good mood. She's like really mopey, very moody. We'll get to Jaden more a little bit later. So the kids know about their father's lifestyle, obviously, because when Steve was still married to their mother, at some point when they met Brenda moved in with the family, and so they were all living together. It was Steve, his first wife, and Brenda and the children. And Steve tells us that there was a point even at that time, because the kids at that time were 8 and 10 years old, they were even calling Brenda mom. So it was like a real solidified family unit until his wife was listening to the naysayers, the critics of this type of lifestyle, and she ended up jumping ship. So she ended up, I don't know if her and Steve filed for divorce or if she just packed up and left and they're still legally married. I have no idea. So the first wife ended up leaving with her kids. So then it was just Steve and Brenda. So Preston, he's the 18-year-old boy. He's like, whatever my dad wants to do, if he's happy, I'm cool with it. Really go with the flow kind of guy. Jaden is the one that's more expressive with her criticism, and she's not down with this lifestyle at all. So they're making dinner and they sit down for dinner, and while they're making dinner, everybody was hands on deck, helping out with the preparations of the meal, except for Jaden. She was busy on her phone. So when they sit down for dinner, they decide to let the kids know that they are seeking another wife and that they're currently dating someone else. And the reason why Steve wants to bring this up to his children is because he's, I guess, developing feelings for April, which is the 21-year-old that will soon be, that he's currently, him and Brenda are currently dating. So in the confessional, Steve said that he is developing feelings for Brenda, so, I mean, excuse me, for April. And so this is a good time to bring it up to the children. So as we're sitting there for dinner, he tells the kids that they are actively seeking another wife to add into the family. And the son was like, whatever, if you like it, I love it. Whatever makes you happy, Dad, I'm down for it. Now, Jaden, the daughter, didn't like it at all. She said her first question was, so, well, like, what the hell is going on here? So what if Brenda wants to date someone? Oh, I think the question was, the son asked the father, so the new wife is going to be like your girlfriend and her friend? And Steve said, yes, she will be, my partner or my girlfriend or my wife, and will be Brenda's friend. And Brenda said, yeah, she'll be more like a sister to me. And so then the daughter said, well, I don't understand. After you divorced mom, okay, fine, you divorced mom. If you wanted to have a girlfriend and you wanted to date another woman and have a girlfriend, okay, fine, I'm cool with that. I just don't understand this whole dynamic. So then she asked, well, what if Brenda wanted to have another husband? Will that be okay with you? And Brenda says, well, I'm not really interested in getting another husband. And I think Steve said that he'd be fine with that if that's what she wanted. But Brenda was like, no, I'm not interested in doing that. So the girl she's not down with this at all. She doesn't like it. She doesn't believe in it. She doesn't think it's right. In fact, she called it downright disgusting. And she's just not okay with it at all. So that's a challenge. That's a huge challenge. And we'll see exactly how they handle that challenge in the episodes to come. Now, my personal opinion is, to me, the question is it worth having this type of problems with a relationship with your children, a relationship that's already pretty fragile? Is it worth it just to add another female in the dynamic? Adults should be able to do whatever adults want to do as long as they're not hurting anyone and everything is consensual. But realistically, you have to consider other people's feelings, for example, your children. So Steve also lets us know that lately he hasn't been spending as much time with his children. He said it was because of they're building this new home. Him and Brenda are currently building this new home. He gave another excuse of why he wasn't able to visit his children as often. So he made it seem like the relationship between him and his kids lately has been pretty strained. I don't know what the real reason is, because I don't see how building a home is going to get in the way of you seeing your children, but whatever. And then he gave another excuse, which I forgot what it was. So the relationship is already on thin ice between him and his kids. So I don't know. I just don't know, because you want to be able to live your lifestyle, but you also want to have a decent copacetic relationship with your children as well. And if your children are clearly disapproving of your lifestyle, then how can y'all be happy together? How can you be happy with your kids? I just don't know. What I really also would like to know is, what is the reason for Steve having multiple wives? Like, what really is going on there? Why do you feel the need to have multiple wives? Do you want to expand your family? Do you want to have more children? Like, what is the reason there? And you can do whatever you want, and you don't even have to have a reason. You can just do whatever the hell you want without explanation, without having a reason. If it makes you happy, go ahead and do it. But then there's consequences to that. So when those consequences are as dire as risking the relationship with your daughter, then I'm kind of like curious as far as like, why do you want to do this? Why is this so important to you, Steve, that you feel the need to add another wife, knowing that it's going to cause even more strain between you and your daughter? Or is there a way for you to explain it to your daughter in a way that will make her be less disapproving? She will never embrace it 100%, but is there a way for you to explain it to your daughter in a way for her to understand so that she could be a little bit less disapproving, or at the bare minimum, just like let you live your life, but understand that, you need to let her know that, look, okay, I'm going to live my life and do my thing over there, but I need our relationship to be healthy. I need our relationship to be good. Maybe what he needs to do is not bring the wives around the children, or the daughter. Like when he goes to see his children, keep his wives at home and he sees his children alone. Or if they come visit him, the wives will have to take a weekend, take a weekend getaway or something, so he can spend time with his kids away from all of that, because the daughter is just not having it. Moving on to the Epps family, Taryn, Marcus, and India. So it is India's birthday party. Their scene starts off with Marcus and Taryn surprising India with a surprise visit from her sister Chastity. India was under the impression Chastity wasn't going to be able to make it for her birthday, but they flew her in and it was a big surprise. So it was really nice to see the sisters reunite. At first, her sister Chastity thought that India was in this plural family or in this plural relationship because she felt like she wasn't good enough. To make Marcus happy, just her by herself. Like she wasn't good enough. Like Marcus wouldn't be satisfied with just India alone. So then when the sister got to know Taryn better and she got to see how they were living their lifestyle, then her sister Chastity was more accepting of it and she's all good with it. So, the sister thinks that if Bina is added to this dynamic, it would be a disadvantage for India, because then India would be the one that would have known Marcus the least amount of time. So it would kind of like knock India down a little bit on the totem pole of wives, because she would be the one that would have, like I said before, she would have known Marcus the least amount of time. So that would be a disadvantage. I don't even know why that would matter, because look, if India, Marcus, and Taryn and Bina are adults and, they want to do the decent thing, then Taryn, Marcus, and Bina would make sure that they don't do anything to make India feel left out of this dynamic. So they would reduce or lessen the amount of stories they want to talk about from way back in the day before India came into the picture. Just make her feel more inclusive, more included. I don't see how the fact that Bina and Taryn, I don't see how them knowing Marcus the longest would be any type of would create any type of negative effect on India. I don't think that should matter if they make sure that they make her feel included and they don't leave her out and they don't spend hours and hours and hours talking about how, about things that occurred way before India came into the picture. So I don't think it's a big deal that if Bina is introduced into the family, unless India just simply doesn't like her for other reasons. So, but once again, when they talk about how, how the sister talked about how, well, India's going to be left out if Bina is included because Taryn, Bina, and Marcus have this history together. Once again, that's kind of like the women's relationship is dependent on how they all relate to the man. And I thought that this whole plural family thing was supposed to be completely equal. Like we're all on equal footing, but it seems like everything depends on how they relate to the man. So I don't know. So it's time for India's birthday party. She's turning 30 years old. Siblings are there, cousins are there, co-workers are there, but they're all female. So as they're, commiserating and all of this and that, Marcus's sister says that she really wasn't sure about them adding a third. His sister's name is Sharnetta. She says in her own little confessional, she's like, you know what, I don't really think it's a good idea for them to add a third wife, because what they have going on with just the three of them is so strong. And India's sister feels the same way. She's not that crazy about them adding a third wife. She thinks that what they have is good enough and they shouldn't rock the boat. So Keisha, who was a friend of all of them, Keisha also used to date Marcus back in the day, and I'm beginning to wonder if Marcus dated anybody else at that damn table besides his own sibling and cousins. I don't know. But anyway, so Keisha, which is an ex-girlfriend of Marcus, she asked the question, who is really trying to find the sister wife? Is it all three of y'all, or is it just Marcus? Like, who's really pushing this? So Indy explains that Marcus goes fishing. And that made it sound like he's constantly actively looking for more wives to add. Like this is something he does on a daily basis. Like it's a consistent thing for him to be looking for more wives to add. So India says, well, Marcus, well, he'll go fishing and then he reels them in, and then the women, the two existing wives, Taryn and India, they'll decide whether or not this is going to be a good fit for us. And I was just like, this really sounds, I don't know if it sounds cultish or if it sounds pimpish. I mean, I don't understand. Like, he goes out there fishing, looking for other women, and then if he sees someone that he likes, he reels them in. And then if the women I don't, I was just like, oh, okay. I thought things just kind of happen naturally. Like, if they just come across another female that Marcus likes and he wants to introduce them to the other women, like that. But for her to say he goes fishing, it made it seem like he's actively, constantly looking for other women to add. And if that's the case, what has taken them so long to add a third? So Keisha says that she really wasn't into India when India was first introduced into the family, because she said that she saw India as the other woman. She was already cool with Taryn and Marcus, but when India was introduced into the picture, Keisha was like, not really feeling her, because she saw India as the other woman, the woman that took Marcus away from Taryn. And so India wants to make it extremely clear that she was not the other woman. She didn't take nobody away from nobody. That Marcus was 100% single when they met, even though I think he was still legally married to Taryn, but in her eyes, he was 100% single. He wasn't fooling with Taryn. And so when they met, it was just, a regular traditional type of relationship until he brought Taryn back into the fold. So India does not want to be seen as the other woman at all. That's like a trigger for her. So I don't know, what's going to happen there, but I feel like for the family members, like the two sisters who are like, well, we're not really sure if we want Bina in the mix. Just like they really weren't sure about India, I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine with once if Bina is going to be chosen and she is going to be a part of the family. After a while, they're all going to be used to her. So, like, what can you do? They'll get used to her. It doesn't matter how many people are added in, unless there's some serious personality conflicts. They'll be fine with Bina. Moving on to the Jones family. The only thing that I can say here is that Sidian is on his way to the Philippines to go meet Ariel, because Sidian and Tasha are very worried that Ariel is going to be losing interest if there isn't some type of face-to-face physical contact made. So he's on his way to the Philippines, and we'll see more of that later. Anyway, I've made it to the end of this review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, please subscribe. If you don't like this content, don't worry about it, but thank you for stopping by anyway, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.